This is a test of the City of Palatka audio system.
The ones I ordered haven't came in yet.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the City of Palatka Special Called City Commission meeting. We're calling this meeting to order on July 25th, 2024 at 6 p.m. Ms. Creans, could you read the special call meeting notice, please?
Thank you. To Commissioners Tammy McCaskill, Justin Campbell Senior, Will Jones, and Rufus Morum, you're hereby notified a special called meeting of the Palatka City Commission's called to be held on July 25th, 2024 at 6 o'clock at City Hall, 201 North Second Street, Palatka, Florida 32177. The purpose of the meeting is regarding formulation of the city's strategic plan, the city's mission, vision, values, and the goals for the city manager. Signed, Roberta M. Correa, Mayor.
Thank you. Is Pastor Mulberry? No, okay. An invocation from Commissioner Campbell and the pledge, Commissioner McCaskill, please.
If you would bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your grace and your mercy. God, we ask that as we go throughout this meeting, God, that you give us the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding to make the decisions to move this city forth. We pray this prayer and all other prayers in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are going to open the floor up to
Roll
public.
Roll call.
Oh, roll call. Ah,
I mean, I can
wrong.
see you're here, but
Roll call, please, sorry.
Commissioner Tammy McCaskill. Here. Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones. Commissioner Rufus Forum.
Present.
Mayor Robbie Correa.
Present.
All members present and counted for. There's a quorum.
Thank you. And now we'll open the floor to public comments. Please limit your public comments to 3 minutes and no decisions will be made at this time. I do have a card. Ms. Duke, please give your name and address for the record. Have the mic on?
Is that on? Okay. I'm Vicky Duke. I live at 105 Carriage Terrace, Palatka, Florida. I just wanted to, first, it's an honor to even get to speak in a group before y'all. As I think as we see things with our government, I just feel honored that we still get to do this in a forum. I'm here to complain about the situation that happened at the last city commissioners meeting. I was shocked at the disrespect that was shown to our mayor and the discord that was going on. And it was disappointing to see that. And we all have a bad day. And I hope I never see this happen again at one of the city commissioners meetings. I was very disappointed.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. And we'll move on to regular business. The first item of business is discussion direction, resolution 2024 R153. Ms. Krantz.
Thank you. Resolution 2024 R153, resolution of the city of Palatka authorizing the execution of a retention agreement with Sniffen and Smellman, PA for the purpose of an employment investigation, amending the fiscal year 2023-24 budget, providing an effective date and providing for scrivener's errors.
Thank you. Commissioner McCaskill, since you're the point person, do you have anything else to contribute or information to share?
I reached out to, following the meeting, once we agreed to conduct an investigation, I reached out to our labor attorney, Mrs. Erdely, who referred me to Sniffen and Spellman. And I think I sent that information to Mrs. Krantz and asked that she forward it to the commission. Did that happen? Okay, so if everyone received that with the proposal from the law firm of their services, from there, I was guided. She informed me that it would take about 10 weeks to conduct an investigation. If you all have read that, I don't need to say it. I mean, we can talk about it. About 10 weeks to conduct a thorough investigation so that their firm could be fair and impartial to both parties. With that being said, I did inform her of the city manager's date of his probationary period ending. She wanted to make sure that they had enough time to conduct a thorough investigation. So she suggested that I reach back out to the labor attorney, Mrs. Erdely, and see if he would be friendly to extending days on his probationary period. She recommended at least 30 days to make sure that their firm had time enough to interview all parties that are involved, have the opportunity to interview Mr. Bell, as well as anyone that he would like to have interviewed, so that it could be fair and impartial. Mrs. Erdely provided a letter to Mrs. Krantz. Did you receive that? Sent me an email, and did you receive that, Mrs. Krantz, and disperse it to the commission? And is that a yes? Did you give it to the commission?
That's it, yes.
Did we all receive a letter? And it was requesting for Mr. Bell to at least extend his probationary period for a time frame of 20 extra days. The letter did indicate that he had not provided an answer as to whether or not he would agree with the extension. So that's where we are. They cannot proceed. They do not want to proceed without having enough time to conduct investigation and being fair again to both parties. So we're here. If y'all have any questions, I did speak with, and the lead, actually, they said that it would be a team of 3 attorneys. Don Whitehurst would be the lead attorney, Michael Spellman would help, and Mark Logan. She said they like to use a team concept because they like to have various varying viewpoints. It provides various backgrounds. The cost would not exceed $30,000. The amount that they will charge is $375 per attorney. However, all attorneys will not be working all at the same time. They will work on different things. It may be one attorney that conduct the interviews. However, when everything is done, and if it's reaching the $30,000 point, they will let us know and let us know the direction that we would like to go in. However, at the end, as well, when the investigation is completed, if we decide to go in that direction, they will all collaborate at the end and share what they find, the findings, and go from there.
Any questions of Commissioner McCaskill? Go ahead,
I do.
Commissioner Campbell.
First, thank you, Commissioner McCaskill, for leading the charge and taking the lead on this. I just have 2 concerns. My first concern is the anticipated amount that it could reach, $30,000. I feel that it's a bit excessive with regards to an investigation of this sort, but again, it may dive into something that we don't know. So I just want to, for the record, put it out there that I am a tad bit concerned with regards to the amount. And second, I'm a tad bit concerned. I know as we had the other meeting, when we were a part of the other meeting, some had some questions with regards to, or concerns with regards to Ms. Attorney Elderly providing the representatives who she deemed would be appropriate to lead this investigation. But one thing that I'm a tad bit concerned was that instead of her using you as a liaison, that she went directly to Mr. Bell to ask if he was willing to extend his contract versus going through you and getting that information to come through the commission who employs him, to even see if that was something that we was going to consider. But her making direct contact with him, I did not agree with. And it kind of alluded to the point of the level of transparency that citizens have brought forward when we were having that conversation. So overall, those are my 2 major concerns. And I felt that it was appropriate for it to be talked about at this time so it can be taken in consideration. but I'll yield and I'd love to hear what the remainder of those who have not had the opportunity to speak yet to hear what they have to say with regards.
Oh, if I can answer your two
Uh-huh.
questions first. So, with the amount, I thank you for sharing your concerns, but to me, when we have concerns that were shared, you're putting a price tag on people's health, possible health. And $30,000, we have $5,000 each in our line, and our commission lines, which totals $25,000, where we do give community events. So I have a problem when we put a price tag on the possibility of a work environment impacting our employees' health. So that's my take on that. I can't control, what a price is, but, investigations are rather expensive. That's what they charge. I did reach out because that was one that she recommended. However, I did reach out to another firm, Yolanda Cash Jackson, to see if they could recommend or had any other references, to be fair. I reached out to them on July 17, 2024 at 8:48 a.m. and have not received a return call back. One of my questions tonight was going to be if you all wanted to refer or had anybody else, any other references that you all would like for me to reach out to. When I spoke to Mrs. Erdely about the extension, she did ask me, just to make sure of following protocol. She wanted to reach out to the mayor and inform her, and she did ask about reaching out to Mr. Bell to see if he would be friendly to extend his contract because she is the labor attorney, and just asking those questions. So not getting involved in the investigation. One of the things that the firm did give me advice on and guidance on is that they're not advice, because they're only to conduct an investigation, but not to advise. But she guided me and told me to reach back out to the labor attorney so that she can reach out, because it's her job to see if he was friendly to extend this contract.
Thank you. Commissioner Borum, do you have anything to contribute, ask?
Since you just going in order like that, but well, my only issues and concerns are, first is, we're talking about an investigation. Generally, there's some documented things associated with an investigation or what have you. And again, I did reach out to the city HR, and there was nothing in nobody's file as it related to a investigation or what have you. And again, I know, it was alluded that there's a possibility that it was kind of like an indirect thing, that Ms. Jones could have been part of the process, and I made sure that that wasn't the case. So, that being said, I think that Ms. Jones should have been leading this whole effort as it relates to the making the contact with any external people if there was an investigation. But first, before we even start investigating, we need to have something in writing. Generally, people have they file a grievance. They file a grievance with and it was not HR. So HR is out of the loop. So they would file it with HR. HR would then take the necessary steps to move in those directions to make sure that things are friendly and proper. So again, that's one piece where I have a issue with as it relates to the investigation. And the other piece is the cost associated with that. The $30,000 cost. And I just heard a comment about impacting somebody's health. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know if the research has been done and they specifically said that whatever happened here contributed to the person's health or whoever is impacted. I'm not sure. So we want to make sure that we're taking care of our employees, but we want to make sure that things are done properly and done fair, done decent and just. That's what we're all about. I'm one big guy who really go to bat for the employees, and I have done that on many occasions. And so I got a record of that. But again, the way that I think this is going, I think we're not going the right process in terms of doing that.
Before, Mayor,
Okay,
if
go
I
ahead.
may, just out of precaution, and we don't have legal here to address it, but is it an opportunity for us to have Mr. Bell exit the room while we're having discussion on part A? Because the investigation is about him.
And I'm
Um,
concerned about
And it's-
confidentiality.
so I would make the recommendation, if at all possible, for item A, because it's solely about the investigation services that we are talking about and not so much, and when we get to item B, to invite him back because that's where he makes the decision. But I think that as we talk about the investigative portion and the retaining of services, that, that needs to be amongst us.
Commissioner McCaskill is next.
Well, I had my last piece. I missed that point, but it's just to finish up,
Okay, please finish up.
in terms of, you know, and then the other piece in terms of, extending the, probationary period from 130 days and yeah, 180 days and you're adding another 20 or 30. I'm not friendly to that either because what we should have done in the beginning in terms of, dealing with Mr. Bell and the contract and everything, all of that was already set in place. So additionally, adding additional time to it, I think the process can still go forward, I think, without adding additional time to a probationary period. I just don't think that's right on his behalf. And I just want to be fair in that regard.
Thank you. Mr. Bell, could you please consider leaving the room so we can further discuss and we'll let you know when to return. Thank you.
And prefer to go into a space where, yeah, and prefer to go into a place where there's no audio that's being listened to.
That's what I was about to say. If I may, Madam Mayor, I have overflow speakers on. Would you like them off?
Yes, please.
Okay.
For the short term. Commissioner McCaskill?
Okay, I want to respond to the
Can I clarify? And again, I want the citizens to know, the only reason that I asked that he be removed is that we're speaking directly to the retaining of the services that could, who's doing the investigation, and I don't feel that it's deemed appropriate for him to hear the conversation as it pertains to what we as a decision-making unit have to consider. When it comes down to him making the decision about the extension, of course, we would invite him back in, but as far as the retaining of the services and what we would like to see entailed in the services, that's why I asked him to be removed from the room.
Thank you. Commissioner McCaskill?
Okay, I would like to respond to the when Commissioner Vorum's statement about alluding to HR and saying that she was a possible person that shared a concern. I mentioned that we want to identifying folks who may not could be a part of the process of elimination of identifying folks that may have brought concern. So I wanted to make sure that I protect the identity of the individuals that have provided the concerns to me. So I didn't allude that she was one, but making sure that we're not able to easily identify because he still is their direct supervisor. Also, the extension of the investigation was suggested to be fair and impartial for both parties, to make sure that it's not rushed, to make sure that not only the folks that have the concerns are investigated, but for him to have the opportunity to be questioned and provide witnesses. And they said, they told me the amount of time it would take, and it would be beyond his probationary period. So that was the reason that we asked for it.
Commissioner Borum?
Just to respond to that, the question, well, the response from Commissioner McCaskill. We would have not even been at this venue talking about the HR person leading this effort. Because when the issue was first brought up, I brought that up, that we should have HR leading the process. That's what I brought up in the beginning. And then there was a rebuttal that said that what if it's HR or the individual for HR? That's how we got to where we are right now with the conversation. But we would not be here had it not been for that particular comment, because I had already made it clear in the beginning that how that process works. And that if we had anything against anybody that should have been a grievance, it should have gone to HR. That's what I said. And HR would handle it from there, reaching out to the correct agencies. And so there was a rebut that said, well, what if it's not? So that was not the right process. I think HR, and I still think that HR should have been handled.
Commissioner Campbell?
Thank you, Mayor. With regards to the time, there's an ask for an additional 20 days to be provided. But if I heard correctly and read correctly, there is a 10-week time frame that they state that it would be in order to do a thorough. So if they're asking or they're saying that it's a 10-week in order to do a thorough investigation, where did the 20 days come from? Just out of curiosity.
From my understanding, there was some reluctance in extending the time frame. So to try to work with the individual, the days were asked, 20 days were asked in lieu of 30 to 60. I can tell you that the law firm did not recommend that. However, just to be friendly and to try to make sure to support Mr. Bell, they asked for 20 in lieu of 30 or 60. Also, again, I want to state that investigations cost money, that's understood, but I want us to be very cautious of the possible impact of us not conducting an investigation or associating or tying money to individuals' health. We don't know what I know that we have not, you all are not aware of the concerns that were brought to my attention and I shared, but I do want us to be mindful, please, of connecting those two.
So, I don't want it to appear as if we are, but we're physically responsible for the finances of this community. And so asking questions doesn't make it appear we just want clarity and we want transparency, and not saying that we haven't, but again, we're asking questions so that those who may have come to us
Yes.
in our times not sitting on the dais, these are some of the questions and some of the concerns that we may have had. But I do have a comment/concern. I would make the recommendation, well, not recommendation, I'll be a little apprehensive to ask for an extension for an investigation versus us asking for an extension because we didn't do what we were supposed to do in order to provide him guidance in his role as city manager. Hence the reason why the meeting prior was called, to have that statement made so that we would be able to proceed, and then we accepted an emergency item, which again, nothing against it, but I think that there's a whole lot here. And I think there are things that are disclosed even in his contract with regards to termination or severance that are clearly laid out, that in the event that the investigation was to warrant certain things, that there can be termination without severance. So listed with the things that are under section 5, which is stated termination, severance of pay, A through F clearly lays out more specifically in section C, the various ways that in the event anything was to come as a result of the investigation that warrants termination, that severance is not to be an option unless we as a commission
Thank you.
desire it to be that. So I want to make sure that that's clearly identified and put out on the forefront. But I also do have another question. Have we taken in consideration contacting the Florida Commission of Ethics, who does things like this for free?
So I'm glad that that was mentioned. Again, I asked the question. I took the charge. I was allowed to take the charge. I reached out to a firm. I attempted to reach out to another one. This is just a proposal that they provided. However, my question was if we have any other ones that we would like to reach out to, that's something that we can do. Again, I have a problem when we ask for an external investigation to be conducted with us, and I know the proper protocol is to go through HR. HR may or may not be a person that has provided information to me, but I want to be as cautious as possible with identifying any of the employees that provided me with information.
I completely agree, but I think in most organizations, if there was something to be formal that was brought to, there is a proper grievance that should be filed. And it's to my understanding, based on the conversation or the dialogue that Commissioner Borum has brought forth, that there is no official grievance, even if there was to be something as a result of the investigation, knowing that it was going forth and a grievance was to come forth. Again, it's hard for us to have a conversation when we don't know exactly what's going on. So I would ask you this question, being that the person came to you, is there any written documentation that should be provided to commission either via email or something that was submitted to you that should be provided to us as the commission so that we can have a better insight as to what the investigate or what the complaint is? Because again, in other organizations, should there be a complaint or a grievance, it goes through and it's on, we can say for the executive director or the CEO or whoever sits at the head, that tends to go to the individuals, which it did go to you. So
Yes.
again, I want to just know if there is something that we as a commission may be able to feast upon that allows us to give, because again, we don't want it to appear that we're putting a price on anything, but then again, we should be in the know as of now, being that it's in the open, more specifically, that if there is any type of communication that we should be aware, we should have it as a part of any packet that we take into consideration so that we are all on the same page and not being fed information once we get to a meeting on the dais. So that's why I just want to know if there is anything written, or was this a private conversation that was had amongst you and the individual or individuals that may have had or may have warranted this. But again, if there is something in writing, I would like to know so that we will be able to have that same information.
Very good question. And again, we're all here together
Absolutely.
and learning together. So I'm glad that the individuals did share verbally. However, I do have individuals that are willing to write statements, but they want to make sure that they are protected. Again, I'm new to this. We're all new to this. They shared their concerns. And I felt compelled to make sure that I share because I didn't want to hold information knowing that it was being shared with me and not following proper protocol to get the information out. Subsequently, I do have a letter that was submitted to me from a prior employer whose name I did provide, but they're no longer employed. But I do have documentation that was sent to me. Also, an employee did inform me that they filed a grievance, but the grievance was not, or wanted to file a grievance and followed the policy, the process of the policy. And it was basically hindered. I guess allegedly, the person wanted to file the grievance, spoke with the city manager wanted to speak to that individual. There was never any follow-up allegedly, so
Grievance that wanted to be filed, was it against the city manager that he wanted to talk, or? I'm trying to follow, so that's why I'm
a
asking.
grievance was, wanted to be filed,
A
however,
grievance on who?
the city manager.
So they went to the city, and again, I'm
And-
trying to make sure that I gotta
A
understand.
grievance was, the individual wanted to file a grievance against the city manager. However, the city manager allegedly wanted to sit and speak with the individual. I think they did. I think they had an employee in the organization that got involved. There was never any follow-up from that, from the city manager. Allegedly, there was never any follow-up. So the person really, their back was against the wall. Not able to go to another employee because they're having some discord or issues in the. I just want to be cautious of what I share.
I completely understand, but then.
If you understand, I have to be cautious of what I share.
But what I'm
So,
sympathetic to that. However, in order for us to be able to fully support, we need to be provided as much information as possible.
so if
And
you all would give me guidance, I can have those individuals to write statements. What we have to be cautious of, and this is what they shared with me. They shared the information with me verbally.
Mhm.
However, they're concerned about retaliation. That was one of the things that they shared because he is their direct
But they would
supervisor.
be
Okay.
under,
So when I brought this to our attention, all of us together, learning at the same time, we agreed to an independent investigation. I am not savvy in this. I am doing the best that I can. But my ultimate goal is to protect employees and make sure that we address their concerns. And these questions are all good because I can tell you a lot of questions came to me about the cost and the process. I reached out to legal to get guidance in the process, and this is the guidance that I received, and this is the direction that I took. So allegedly, again, when the employees cautiously shared information with me, they did share that a grievance, they wanted to file a grievance, which was against Mr. Bell, but I think it was hindered where they didn't get opportunity to talk. It wasn't followed through or followed up. So if you can give me a chance, I spoke with Sunny. Do you have the policy about a grievance?
and you're addressing exactly where I wanted to go.
Yes.
Because I brought up that there is no official policy with regards to grievance against the city manager. And I asked that question one time before, even when we were going through our policies and procedures of personnel and things of that nature, that there really is not a process, which again, meeting is not for that. So that's something that we have to clean up as we progress.
But you asked.
But as of now, I get it, but as of now, the way that it was presented.
Yes.
We have to take that into consideration, the way that being sensitive to the individual or individuals, which again, we completely understand. But I think now that it's in the hands of the commission,
Mhm.
that there is a level of protection to the individuals that need to provide us documentation so that what you have been privy to, that we all are privy to, so that we all know at
Exactly.
least something
Okay.
about what the investigation is
Yes.
going to entail. Because as of now, we're supporting, because again, I don't believe that you would have come to the commission and asked for this inquiry if it was not sincere or if it was not to the extent of causing for an investigation. But again, I think as we progress and as we learn to do this thing together, that we try to do it as uniform as possible. So as we do this, I feel that there is a rush, but then we don't have to rush that bad, because again, I want to make sure that as a commission or commissioner, that I have the understanding of what it is that the investigation is going to tell, because again, if I read what their complaint is, that may add something to the scope
Yes.
of what the investigation needs to entail. So I would like to make sure that if there's an opportunity or the commission is privy to, or, friendly to it, that we allow those individuals the opportunity to submit to us, to you, being that you are
Yes.
officially now the liaison. And that, again, we have some kind of form of documentation that would allow us to be on the same page.
I think that's good. And I do want to remind the commission that I did try to call for an executive session because I thought that we could, because I really wanted to share with you all. I didn't want any of us going into it in the blind, and I found out that we couldn't, so.
And my concern with sharing it with all of us, we don't want to taint the investigation, one. And secondly, once we obtain information, it becomes public. But if they're going to write it without, it's gonna.
Not if it's an open investigation. If it's an open investigation, it does not become public record until that investigation has concluded.
I understand that, but again, we're not doing the investigation.
Again, I wanted to
I'm not
make,
arguing with you, I'm just.
no, we're not arguing. I just want to.
I'm raising my concerns too. The cost is a concern of mine, but I agree with Commissioner McCaskill. If there is, and we don't know, it's allegation, if there is truly a toxic workplace perhaps occurring, we need to act on it. We can't ignore it. We have to take it into consideration and act on it. Again, none of us, we all want to be fiscally responsible, but I just think we have to move forward. As we're going to talk about the extension of the probationary period when Mr. Bell is present. But again, I see that as a win-win for all parties. I don't see that as a negative. It's 30 more days to 180 to 210. But I just think that's in everybody's best interest, Mr. Bell's as well as the city's. So I don't see that as a big issue. But again, we'll cross that when we get to that next issue on the agenda. I don't have any problem if we can do this safely and make sure that we are confidential with whatever is shared.
Okay, well, let me do it this way. Can we get a abstract or a summary provided to us from Commissioner McCaskill, giving the highlights of what the concerns were highlighted? So that way the individual's name or anything else is not provided. We're getting a summary from Commissioner via writing so that we will have something to feast upon. Again, I have an issue with not being privy to anything because again, if they went through the protocol or if we're looking, and I can speak to this because I've been chairman of organizations where we felt to this, where grievances were filed against executive directors. And so being that we don't have that intent, we have where an individual who works for the city went to an elected official, which in an organization that would have been the proper protocol, because again, it's against the our hire, which is the city manager. But then again, that Commissioner McCaskill did what she was supposed to do in order to bring it to the commission to highlight. However, we were not privy to details as it relates to it. So I'm satisfied if I get a high level detailed report from Commissioner McCaskill stating some of the things that have been divulged to her, not providing names. It's not redacted information, but I want some kind of tangible, something I can follow and say yes, or if that is the case, I want to make sure as we do our scope to provide this and make sure that we cover this in our scope of work as well. So I want this to move on. I'm not taking this lightly. I'm taking this very serious, hence the reason why I'm commenting the way that I am, because I want this process to be open and I want it to be fair to all individuals that are involved. I don't want it to appear as if we're after a witch hunt or anything of that nature. I want this to be completely open from all parties and protect those that we need to protect in the process.
I agree with
And
you
I
on
like
that,
that.
Commissioner Campbell. I think that's a great idea.
Yes, I think that's a great idea, and that's good direction.
After giving a few minutes to ponder everything that was said, and with all due respect to everyone's opinion, because everybody made some sense. However, for me, I want to hear one thing from HR while we're in this meeting, because they are in charge of public relations and employee relations, employee relations. And it's what would your department do when something is brought to you of this magnitude? What is your responsibility?
Okay, like Commissioner Campbell said, we don't have anything written as it pertains to the city manager. But if an employee brought something to me where it was a grievance against the city manager, I don't go to the city manager. I would bring it to you all. You would be privy to do how you want to. If it meant investigating, doing whatever, that would fall on you because it's against him. So that would never go to him. He would never know. It would go directly to you all, each of you. That's where it would go.
Great. So in this instance, you didn't have that information,
No, I don't know who it is.
so they never came to you.
No,
Okay.
not to file a grievance against the city manager. No.
So is there any protocols that, I know we don't have a procedure,
Mhm.
however, but with your HR knowledge and experience, at what point in time do those kind of matters? Have you inserted the idea of calling in or referring someone to EEOC? Because when you have workplace disparities, where you're being bullied, when you're being harassed, they take those kind of complaints.
Right.
Familiar?
Yes, I am.
So I would personally refer this kind of investigation to them, as outside entity, or that's the government,
Mhm.
and they will determine from their investigation if there's grounds for some type of punitive
Right.
or compensation damages.
Mhm.
And the reason why I'm saying this is it'll keep commissioners out of this.
Right.
Okay, so we're now into something where we're trying to govern someone that has a investigation on them, and he's been challenged with having an investigation going. It's kind of a tough situation,
Right.
period. But if EEOC is doing an investigation that the employee themselves anonymously, none of us would know who it was
Right.
until the time. So if there was a settlement, guess what? The settlements are not even $30,000. So that way, our exposure is a lot less than what it's going to cost us to investigate. A lot of times, those things go away with $10,000. So that was just a suggestion. Not only that investigation, the second investigation. The second investigation, if there's an ethics violation, should also go to.
It's not illegal, we can't chat, we can't.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say this as far as HR direction, independent investigators.
Mhm.
Other agencies do those investigations.
Mhm.
So that would be my conversation, not saying right or wrong here, but to wash our hands with it, because sometimes in these instances, people do, and I won't say that. Sometimes we're fighting a battle that we have no business fighting.
Right.
So, all right, that's it.
For me.
Thank you.
Commissioner McCaskill?
A question, so, and good, we're all up here learning together, and you said EEOC, so if we go that direction, that means would you still be wanting a summary, Commissioner Campbell, or you'll be out of, nobody wants a summary or anything, we'll just let EEOC handle it, what?
I mean, I know the way that grievances are supposed to be filed when it comes down, so I know the process, so asking me, would kind of be, like, I won't change what I said, because I know how the process is, and I've sat through it on numerous occasions as board chairs, and governance committees. I sat on several governance committees as well, so I know the proper process, so nothing what I said before would change. I still, when it goes to the hands of an elected official, there is still a duty that we are still brought into it with the knowledge of
Okay.
what is going on. And then from the knowledge of what is going on, we make the determination of what we feel is best for that situation. So if it's contacting who Commissioner Jones referenced, or it's who you went through, or whomever, we still know what it
The
is.
scope is.
Thank you.
With all of that said, we need to make some decisions. I also, as a public administrator, had years of experience with grievances and investigations with unionized or unionized employees, which is a whole different can of worms. But anyway, we all know the procedure, but we don't have a procedure in the city that's as clear as it should be as regards in the situation of the city manager. So how do we want to proceed, and what would be, I know that Commissioner McCaskill hasn't had an opportunity to contact the Ethics Commission, but I don't know how long an investigation would take with them as well. And certainly if the findings turn out to be something major, then I guess we do have time, but if we just need to decide how we want to move forward.
So we do know that the Ethics Commission is free, provide services free, right?
The service is free, whether
Okay.
they'll take it on or what their manpower status is, we don't know.
Yeah, because they'll still have to develop a scope and also have a time frame and give us guidance as to, you know, I guess we'll have to make a decision about, you know, we don't know the time frame they're asking for as well. So. I mean, I can reach out to again, I will reach out to the Ethics Commission if that's the will of the commission. We do have to make some decisions, but I do want to ask HR this. If you can come. You did say that you were not aware of a grievance that may have been filed against the city manager.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Were you aware of any? Did an employee come to you and about a grievance about you? If I may ask?
About me?
Yes. No,
No.
okay, I'm asking.
No, okay.
Okay, but you're not aware of any grievances, no employees came to you about any grievances within the organization?
No, and I'm gonna preference this like this, okay? If an employee came to me with a concern, my first thing is to them is, would you like to file an grievance? For the simple fact, if I take it upon myself to file a grievance against an employee that they don't want, for whatever reason, they may not want to know it or may not even want the commission to know or whatever, then it's not gonna go anywhere.
So,
But they have to agree to file a grievance. Otherwise, it's conversation. Okay,
you said it wouldn't come before the commission?
it would if they don't want it to. But if they want it to, because a grievance against their supervisor, whoever it is, comes to you, being it the city manager, whoever the city manager may be, it would come to you all. But again, the employee has to want to file that grievance.
Okay.
That makes sense.
And this is why I think it's important for us to get that outline. So, because now I just feel like we need that outline.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Mayor, Madam Mayor, where is our attorney at this time? Because we're treading in water where we really need some legal counsel. And I would like the attorney to be here before we all get ourselves into something.
That's a good question. I did try to reach out to our attorney as well as our labor attorney. And I did receive a response via email. So I guided Sunny to reach out so we can have some guidance in this process. And would you like to share the response?
As for this meeting, I can tell you that Miss West is at a conference. Miss West declines to provide any legal opinion regarding an employment matter. She defers to Miss Erdley, who serves as the city's employment attorney. Miss Erdley says she doesn't like the term labor attorney, so please excuse me, employment attorney.
Okay.
Miss Erdley is also at a mandatory meeting of her firm at this conference. Miss Erdley would have wanted to have been a part of the meeting, but obviously she had a conflicting obligation.
Well,
So I did seek guidance in that.
I feel like we don't need to have this meeting unless we have legal representation so that we are able to address, and I believe even when we were having conversations that when we said that we were gonna talk to Attorney Elderly, that we see her availability to see if she would be able to be present. So again, I feel that we're having this conversation. I believe that it has been fruitful. But in order for us to properly move forward, I even said it at the beginning of the meeting today that I wish we had counsel here. So I would make the recommendation that we go to item C on the agenda and seek the availability of our labor attorney at minimum, bringing it back to a time certain, because again, I know I've stated a lot of things. Commissioner Jones, everybody, all of us have stated some things, and again, if we're going against any recommendation that council may make, I think we shouldn't have no meeting without council. Even if we got to go to next door and ask, can we get their attorney for something? We should not have any meeting without legal counsel because we don't know what may come up that we need legal counsel for. So again, I make the recommendation that we keep things as though they are, skipping down to item C, so that we are able to provide Mr. Bell the opportunity to do what it is that we want him to do, and that's be the city manager, and bring this back. Again, we are not sweeping this under the rug. We want to make sure that as legislators, that we are operating in the capacity in which we need to. And if there's a direction that we are going down that is not legal or could potentially come back to haunt us or bite us or sue us, that we had legal counsel that gave us their legal opinion. And I believe that Ms. West even stated that at the prior meeting that she was not willing to provide a legal opinion with regards to this matter. So again, I think that it would be advantageous for us to move on. Let's get someone in here with the knowledge and understanding to help us gauge the direction and conversation. Again, it's been fruitful, but we should not have any meeting without legal representation.
That is correct.
Commissioner McCaskill, go ahead.
And I absolutely agree, but I still think that it is, I don't think it will hurt to provide you all with a summary of redacted information, because that will also help us with some guidance in who we involve in the meetings.
And I can agree. I do have to say Commissioner McCaskill has been our point person and has been in touch with Miss Erdely right along. So in terms of legal information, and I understand Miss West's reservation, given that she reports to the city manager. And I guess, actually, I remember some time ago that Commissioner Jones brought up the concept of having the attorney report directly to the commission versus the city manager in terms of changing the charter and modifying the charter. And maybe that is something that needs to happen. So as the charter committee moves along, maybe that is something that needs to be considered. Commissioner Boren?
Well, that's really my primary concern as well, that, you know, the commission really don't have anybody, representing the commission, because mainly the city attorney normally mostly represent her direct supervisor, and it just kind of leave the commission in limbo. So again, we should not have these meetings without a city attorney. In her absence, then there should be somebody else in her place as it relates to, because
We've done it before.
right. Well, in her absence, we got it. Like you said, we have done it before when Mr. Holmes weren't available for us during his tenure. There was a somebody to stand in on his behalf as a proxy. So going forward, like Commissioner Campbell stated, we should not have anything before us that requires a city attorney's direction, and we don't have that representation.
I just have one question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Castle.
Mrs. Krantz, did you inform the commissioners that they wouldn't be here as I
Yes.
directed you to do so?
Yes, ma'am, on Tuesday.
So we did have time enough to cancel or eliminate this item on the agenda before tonight?
And which method?
An email.
Cause I asked her to inform you all.
Matters of this magnitude going forth, Sunny is phenomenal, but as we are learning together, when it's something of this magnitude, we need a phone call. Email is a good send out, but again, if we're time sensitive or something like this warrants a phone call.
Email and a phone call because you would like a paper trail.
Because I never want her to say that it was not a paper trail, but again, just as we are growing, that when it comes down to something as time sensitive or as important of this magnitude, that we should have received a phone call as well. But that's fine. But in order for us to move forward, Mayor, if you're willing to entertain some form of motion.
I don't wanna, if Sunny had something to say, if there was an attempt or anything, I would like to hear.
I would just say that I made a phone call to Mayor Correa. I spoke with her in person. She called this meeting that the attorney would not be present. And I also told the liaison that the attorney would not be present verbally.
And I said, please inform you all. So, I mean, if, we need to make sure that we're clear, and if that's the way that
I
we
think
wanna do
she
it.
made the phone call to 2, 3 more wouldn't have. 3 more calls.
I understand that,
So-
but if that's the way she's accustomed to communicating via email, you know, and her not knowing that.
That's why I made the recommendation.
That's why he's
I made
wants
the
a
recommendation.
motion.
So in order for us to move forward, I would make the recommendation that we table both items A and B, allowing us to seek the availability of the labor attorney, or if we need to seek the availability of an attorney, for us to properly be able to have this discussion and answer any questions that we may have of the items that are listed in both items A or B, and we move.
I would like for us to be clear in who we want to seek to be a part of this. Do we want the labor attorney to be a part, is it the labor attorney? What does she like to be called?
Employment attorney.
The employee.
Employment attorney.
Employment attorney, if we want her or someone else.
I
I just
mean,
want us to be
at this
clear.
moment, we're not, even with the recommendation that she gave us, we're not saying that's who we're going with. So I think, I mean, again, as
No.
a point of conversation, that's a legit question. We would have to determine who we would want to
Exactly.
stand in the gap. But again, I don't think no one would be more versed unless they are an employment attorney.
Right, so I think at this point, and that is who we have on contract as an employment attorney, so it would make sense to have Miss Erdely available.
Yeah, we need to see if all are free, let's see that.
There are plenty of labor attorneys.
Okay.
You have to solicit, I think. If we keep having the same people around with the same problems, we're gonna have the same results. The opinions have been said already, there may be some bias. So that's how I feel about that. Again, not that, and I wanna have it exalted this. But again, I feel that, it appears that the attorney don't really want anything to do with it because they would have made an effort knowing that it was a special call meeting. And I think during this time and all of the conferences that we go to, there's no conference going on around this time.
I mean, but she's already stated she didn't want to have
So,
it.
yeah, she didn't want anything to do with it. That's something I hear her loud and clear where she says that. So we need to hear it. Let's try to move forward and get someone who really would give their time and attention to us.
Again, so I need this, not the labor attorney, not Mrs. Erdely. Or we wanna seek out another one, you want Erdely or not, you want another one? We need to,
I think, again, we're talking time, we're talking process. I don't know what the process is to get another firm, employment attorney firm on board. Again, do you happen to know, Ms. Jones, what that process would be if we had to issue an RFP or whatever we would have to do to hire another firm? You may not know the answer to that, and that's fine. We're just reaching out to who's
That's
here.
exactly why we need legal.
Well, right, but at this point, we have Ms. Early on contract, and I think we need to, again, to move this process forward, regardless of how people have certain opinions or not, she is an attorney. She is paid to be unbiased. She is an employment attorney. She's paid to address and discuss and do the research on these type of issues. So I think we have to move forward and request her presence when we reschedule this meeting, whenever the heck it is. Because time is still of the essence. We don't want anybody, whether it's Mr. Bell or anybody else, an investigation has to be done to clear somebody's name as well. And we now have people kind of on edge. The whole atmosphere is on edge because we have these investigations going on. We need to get them done and concluded. I agree. An outside body, this body should not be involved in an investigation, and we just need to move it on. And so I don't think, again, I understand the concern and wanting to table this now, but I think we need to rely on Ms. Erdely's expertise as an employment attorney. Go ahead, Commissioner Barr.
Could we just not do what Commissioner Jones had recommended as it related to seeking EEOC who does that, and also Commission on Ethics with Ethics?
At the Ethics Commission
There's the Ethics Commission. Yeah.
and sneak guidance. What are we friendly to?
I mean, because again, they're gonna do it, but the time is of essence. So again, if we go ahead and we move based on the recommendation, the ball will get rolling. I mean, the ball will get rolling, but again, I'm here to help in everybody's best interest.
I believe that we are making this a lot more complicated than what it needs to be. I think there are a lot of rolling balls we've given direction a little bit, but we did ask for the availability of our labor attorney.
Okay,
And just to get this conversation started with regards to answering questions, as stated before, we did not say that we were going to go with the recommendation that she had. Again, I think seeking the availability is only allowing us the opportunity to have someone to cover us
okay.
as we move forward to have conversations, dialogue with regards to the direction
Okay.
that we want to go
I'll second.
ultimately with the
I'll second it. If
investigation.
that's the motion, I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. So can you please reiterate the motion, because we've gone round and round,
I
Commissioner?
make a motion that we table both items A and B, allow things to carry on as they are. Commissioner McCaskill has received direction to provide us with a summary of the conversation that was brought to her, and allowing her also to make contact with the employment attorney,
Mhm.
which would allow us to seek her availability to schedule a meeting so that we are able to properly have discussion to move these items forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you.
Motion passed unanimously.
So we can have Mr. Bell come back in first of all.
So
No?
Hold on, because I
Okay.
don't know, maybe, so I do want to submit a letter. I don't know if this is the proper time, but I
Sure,
wanted to
please.
make sure that it was submitted. I received a letter from, and I asked, it's a former employee, so I asked HR. HR said that she's not, wouldn't have anything to do with it, being that it's a former employee, but I want to submit this to the clerk that I received. That person asked if I may, they were not here, so I just want to make sure I submit it. And I would like to make sure that every commissioner has it.
And I received an email yesterday from a former
Here.
employee as well, so.
I think I did as well.
But I want to make sure every commissioner too.
I received one as well from a former employee.
Mhm. And I think we need to leave it at that because it becomes part of the investigation.
Okay, can I ask a question? I didn't know it was coming in.
But should that be part of?
Were you listening?
He wanted to ask a question.
We weren't really done.
The HR person came to get.
We're not. completely
Okay,
done.
we'll just hold up with it. Yeah,
Just a
yeah.
couple more minutes,
Just-
please. Thank you.
What? That's a question. So. The next thing is about, whether or not we're not gonna talk about extending probation. Is that what we said? I'm asking.
Apparently, no, we tabled, that was one of the items.
That's one of
tabled.
the things we tabled?
Yes,
Okay.
they tabled A and B,
All right.
so. Anything else prior to him coming back?
So,
Mr.
yeah,
Bowles?
I'm still on that. So what happens if he says no?
To the extension?
That's a legal question.
That's,
Yeah, right.
So we haven't thought this all the way through, so that is something that we need to
we
kind
need
of
an
like.
answer to.
I did ask that,
Okay, please.
when I was consulting. And that goes back to us. We make a decision whether or not we want to move forward. We make the decision. It's back on us because when an investigation is conducted, their role is to solely conduct the investigation and provide us with their findings and conclusions, not to advise us. From there, it is on us to make a decision based on the findings. If he says no, it is back on us to make a decision to give direction, to say the direction that we want to go in.
Okay, thanks.
Any additional questions before Mr. Bell returns? No, okay, I think Mr. Bell can return if we wanna. Whoever would like to request his return. Somebody. Maybe. So on to item C, City of Palatka Strategic Goal Setting, is it what it's titled? Commissioner Campbell, do you want to say anything? We'll let you start. You called this meeting for that particular item to begin with, a continuation.
I would like to, again, just operate in complete transparency. Mr. Bell wanted to meet with me one-on-one and I declined because the reason for my declining was I believe as we move forth, we are wanting to have one band, one sound. I did not want to provide Mr. Bell with what I personally desired of him until we, as a commission, provided him what we wanted to see as a result of this planning process. So I wanted to put out there that I did not meet with Mr. Bell as requested for a one.
I also chose not to meet with Mr. Bell, feeling that whatever was decided had to come from all of us, and I didn't really want to get in that situation of one-on-one. That we as a group would set the goals and objectives for performance.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure that I was responsive to the request that was made at the last meeting for me to have one-on-ones with everyone.
And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm.
So again, we started this process at a previous meeting, but really did not complete it, and we have still quite a bit of work to do. So we need to start on that.
And Mayor, just as we gauge this conversation, are we looking for a time certain? Or are we gonna roll this thing out? I want to make sure that if we committed to rolling this thing out, regardless of what time it says on the wall, we're gonna ride it out. Or are we looking to have an opportunity to stop at a certain time? Because I believe that we have the foundation, but upon us building on that foundation, it may require some lengthy conversations. And the hour now is already 7 o'clock. We've been here late before, but again, I want to make sure that if we're committed to writing this out, that we're all committed to writing this out.
What's the consensus?
I'm committed. We need to write it out and let's get it done.
We do need, in my opinion, need to get this done. We should have probably completed a while ago, but here we are, and we do need to get it done.
I believe we have a great foundation, so it shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, we can move forward. We did establish some goals the last time around. We do need to come up with measurable objectives for those goals, and I think that's kind of where we are. There's also, in the city manager's contract, development of a strategic goal setting. We have a number of reports and plans that have been done over time that I think we can pull ideas from, rather than reinventing the whole wheel. But I think, again, if we want to kind of start where we left off and for these specific goals, come up with some measurable points or objectives, I think that might be helpful. So the first goal that we identified at the last meeting was management of the organization, and we all have it in front of us. Effectively runs the operation of the organization, creates a team building environment for all employees through mutual respect and collaboration. So the city becomes a place where people seek employment, become career employees. Recognizes the accomplishment of all employees, volunteers, and other groups working on behalf of the city. Supports all efforts towards diversity, inclusion, professional growth, succession planning, and opportunities within the organization. Identifies the organizational issues and takes corrective action. So how do we come up, well, not how, we need to come up with some objectives to measure the progress or not, or performance of this particular goal. Anybody have any thoughts?
Whatever we attempt to set, is gonna have to be friendly to whatever the city manager is able to do. It has to be something that, is attainable and it's a goal that, is not put forth that he would not be able to, achieve. So it has to be friendly on both sides.
But they have to be measurable and attainable, so you're right. Specific, measurable, and attainable goals.
And I did provide some additional details based on conversations that I did have with members of the commission, short of doing the one-on-one, to request feedback, so those items could be considered.
Go ahead, Mr. Doe.
So under organizational management, we had established strategic plan, review policies for equality. These items were taken from various plans that the city already has in place. Next, identify missing policies, written practices, and formulate a plan to address those. Use the website to provide transparency on the issues and the status on those issues. Establish an organization chart, create mission, vision, values, and propose to commission. Review existing plans and propose city goals. Establish leave calendar for central reporting process. Those were collectively some of the items that were identified under organizational management.
Anybody's thoughts on those? Some of, at least several, well, 2 or 3 are clearly measurable and easy to accomplish. I mean, first example, the organization chart is already done.
Well,
So that was fairly easy to accomplish. So that's, but I'm just
95%.
saying, you know, we need to. Go ahead, Commissioner McCaskill.
What are you saying about the 95%? You want to speak to that, please?
Sure. We are about 95% complete on the existing organizational chart. However, if we, as I am anticipating, pursue organizational changes, then that needs to be accomplished and the new organizational chart pulled together. And that's not, what you're looking at now is the existing structure. There's a couple things that we need to critique on that, but it's not what I would say is the proposed under reorganization. So that's why I say 95%.
Anybody else have any thoughts on the items that Mr. Bell listed, or any additions or any changes? Again, you don't want to make this overwhelming, so it can't be accomplished either. And those are a lot of, just in that particular goal, a lot of points, several items, and so we may want to pare down. Go ahead.
I think it's several items, but I think they're easily obtainable.
Right.
Once we identify that those are priorities to us. So I don't foresee that list that was compiled isn't something that we could obtain within the next couple of months to the year.
Okay, so that's fine. Again, measurable, most of them are measurable depending on how things happen. Establishing a strategic plan, when we say that, because the plan that NEFA worked on a couple of years ago was considered a strategic plan, even though it's titled economic development. Beyond that.
Yeah.
I mean, again, that was just done.
Can I ask Mr.
Sure.
Bell to quickly run down that list again?
Sure. Establish strategic plan, review policies for equality issues, identify missing policies, written practices, and formulate a plan to address those. Use the website to provide additional transparency on issues and the status of those issues. Establish.
I think you emailed us that.
That's what I was just gonna say, it was email, because I
Can Sunny
printed it out.
print it out? Yeah, I want to print it out.
Now, because I do.
What page of the packet are we looking at?
Like copies.
It's the email that he sent to us.
I'm gonna send it to you.
Copy. Okay. I didn't write anything significant on it.
I mean, I would still have to go scan it,
It should be in the top of your email box, so.
or,
Can you do that for us, please?
he sent it to me.
Would you copy that for? We don't have it.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, please. Are you gonna ask Avery to do it this way? Avery's here. He's out, he's at the lobby. Sorry, I'm just sharing it.
Miss Cardi, I'm sorry, can you copy this, because a lot of what he took came from the economic development plan, and I want to make sure my fellow commissioners.
And I have one, so you only need
Okay,
3 copies.
So we need to get a copy of that and.
3 copies of that and 4 copies of that.
I would like to see under the organizational portion responsiveness, which would allow us to provide prompt resolutions to needs inside and outside of our organization. So making sure that when items or things are brought up, that there is a response given, even if it's notifying citizens that it's being looked into, just something with regards to responsiveness, because oftentimes we hear that contact was made, they haven't had any follow-up or things like that. And I think that's something with the organizational standpoint that we could work on better.
That's a great point, Commissioner, because I had asked for a position or something along those lines, 2 years ago, where we wanted to have an end-to-end customer service, model as it related to, exactly what you're talking about. So I think that's super important that when people put in requests, wherever the request may be, that again, it doesn't fall by the wayside. We've had a number of people who would reach out to the city for different things. And I have had numerous people respond back to me saying that, hey, I've called this department a number of times, or I called that department a number of times, and I have not gotten a response back. So a lot of times I will ask them, have you gotten a for example, if it's in public works, do you have a work order number that you can relate back to? Once you put your request in, most of the time is no. But again, like I said, well, did you, when the person that you spoke with, did you get their name and the date or whatever, you know, so did you have any telemetry or information? And most of the time is no, it's just, so when we have something along those lines, when somebody reach out to us for anything, then I think it should be incumbent upon the city to go above and beyond to provide a request order or work request order or something along those lines when those individuals call into the city. Ask for a program to be put in place at one point that if they did something online, but we got certain systems online that works very well, like the Public Works, they got a request system where you do potholes. I think in the code enforcement also have a situation where you can tie in and get put in code enforcement requests.
Yes.
So, but we don't have nothing in place to where it's an integrated system that we can operate from within that's easily accessible to the community.
I think it's also, and I think Commissioner Campbell has brought this up several times, that people, I don't like to learn educated, but have to learn and know how to do some of these things. I mean, you say work, I know what a work order is, but a lot of people don't know that. So when they call Public Works, they don't even know what the process is. So they call and then what happens? So maybe if they have a little more knowledge, they shouldn't have to ask, but maybe Public Works can say, we just filed a work order on your behalf and this is the number on the work order, so that people have a reference, like an order number for the future. But I think, again, letting the public know how to process some of these things or how to move forward, because there's a lot of questions and lots of information.
That's a great point, but even speaking with the assistant city manager prior to, he's aware of some of the things that we've done in the past that did lend itself to that. And again, and that's what he was also working on something in that vein. And he's helped educate the people in the community about the pothole program. I mean, that's on the website, on the Public Works site, as well as Mr. Cutright also educated the community about the code enforcement thing. So there were town halls held, and those individuals did go out with documentation to show the community about that as it relates to, and then not only that, but then they also provided information to them for department heads, who to contact for different things as it related to whatever. So again, education is key. We need to continue to do those things in those different veins. I mean, all input is welcome, and we just need to serve the community.
That may also all fall under number 4, our goal, community engagement. And to embellish or have that be one of the objectives that is measurable under that particular goal.
I think Commissioner Campbell mentioned in the forum last night about the possibility of a citizens academy that would incorporate some of those aspects of educating the community.
And also with the, use the website to provide transparency on issues and statuses. I think that you shared, like doing the test run with real share.
Mhm.
Yeah, so if you can kind of
Yes.
touch on that as a way of using that as one of the ways to attain that goal.
Sure.
So I think the conversation, we all are on the same point, but my question is there a system that we would be able to utilize? Say, for instance, a person is to call in. I know legal is like trial works or something like that, whoever takes the call have to input what that call was about. It may take a few more minutes, but there's something tangible. So say, for instance, they were to call in and they want to speak to you, whoever, leave a message for us, that there is a system that we will be able to go back and look at the calls that are implemented. So I want to know, is there like a municipal government type
Program.
that can encompass just about everything that we're talking about.
Absolutely. And funny you should mention that because last week we had a presentation demonstration done that would accomplish exactly that. A centralized system. It was point click fix was is the catch name for that solution. I believe it's a Civic Plus solution that would accomplish exactly that, pulling together our public works, our code enforcement, all of our violation information into a centralized system that everybody would have access to it as an employee, but also that the public would have access, public facing, so that the public can go in, take a picture of an issue that would automatically be geolocated and put in a concern about that issue. So that would, I think, accomplish what you were just talking about.
And do they have a cost associated with that?
We are waiting for the cost to come back, so. It may also be something that we can accomplish through ThrillShare, so that's one of the things that I've reached out to ThrillShare about to see if they had a competitive solution associated with that.
And I can say that ThrillShare is something that we use in the district, and a lot of families will be familiar with that
Mhm.
program. So if you can also, again, look in that,
Right.
because I know that you had that conversation.
Mhm.
We had a conversation.
Were you through, Commissioner?
I was done with that. I
Okay.
wanted to ask something else.
Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay, you wanna do it, you wanna do it now? 'Cause
I didn't know if you were referring to.
Yeah, I want to refer to that one
Go
little
ahead.
piece of thing. Well, we do have iWorks, right?
Yes, we do.
That's what I was thinking.
But is that somewhat limited? Because I do know it
Yes.
it was a little bit better than what the system we had prior to.
Mhm.
And iWorks was supposed to have been taking this to another level, but
Right.
that was a few years ago. Now, we're looking at something else to
Yes.
encompass everything.
And that was part of the discussion that we had with this presentation, whether or not this would be a replacement for iWorks or whether or not it would be something that can collaborate with iWorks.
Okay.
The main focus of iWorks is work order systems. And
Right.
so within public works, so this, what we were trying to accomplish with point click fix is a broader solution than just fix a tire or we need to do an oil change or we have a pothole. So we wanted to encompass everything.
So
So
basically, it's pretty much just limited in scope.
yes,
Because I was to the understanding that it was module, you can build it in modules or what
Mhm.
have you, and you can bring in different modules as related to that. But yeah, so point click fix, if that's what's gonna help us out, I certainly appreciate it. Yes, sir.
that's one of the solutions that we're looking at, I think. But I do want to leave it open to see if there's other options before we settle on something, considering the cost and the functionality of it.
Right.
So,
User-friendly.
Okay. Okay.
and I would say that the responsiveness comes from the top. And what we've tried to do from the city manager's office is be responsive when we did receive complaints directly at the office or from the commission and be responsive. But that has to be something that's established throughout the organization. And we're not there yet. We're in the process, but these types of solutions would assist us in getting there a lot faster.
Again, we're on organizational management. Again, most of these are measurable. Do we want to draft that out further?
What about the identifying missing policies and written policies and plan? I think that's something very important that, what are you doing to address that?
The number
The
three.
third, but
The third
right.
item.
So the idea behind that was to continue to review existing policies. The HR director will tell you that we've already collectively begun to identify those missing policies. One of those missing policies, the commission dealt with the other day, which is remote work. You know, so that's something that we need to codify into a written policy so that it can be approved by the commission. But that's just one of the examples of several of the items that we have identified need to be documented, whether they're practices or policies. They lack documentation. So that's something that would come under that.
Did you say remote, that we can codify it and approve remote work? Is that something you said y'all are working on?
That's a policy statement that we do not have. That's an example of one of the types of policies that's missing.
Commissioner, are
Well,
you set, Commissioner?
Well, yeah, I know.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Are you
you-
all set, Commissioner McCaskill?
Go ahead, what's that?
Well, I think remote work is good if we can identify the people to be able to do the remote work as long as they're being productive as well as, or maybe even a four 10-hour days of where you cover the work week with your staff. So I think we have to be very flexible. We can't stay in the old traditional mindset of delivering mail by horse and buggy or delivering mail by these trucks. So we can use email, we can use text message, we got different ways. So we gotta look at and think about how we can enhance and improve the quality of life for people, because a lot of time when you're stuck in a location for however long, can these people perform the same work from a remote location securely and efficiently and effectively? If they can do that, I'm all for it. So just something just that we can think about that that we could potentially do in the city.
Sure.
Now, I would agree with that under extenuating circumstances for remote work, but not getting into the habit of remote work in lieu of being in face and available for your
We're a
employees.
24/7 service organization.
If
And
that
that's
is
all.
something that we're looking to take in consideration, again, we don't have to necessarily dive into it tonight, but an option that could be that there's a pot that each individual is allowed it the amount of time to, say, for instance, 3 days within a given whatever we identify. So I think within a time period, I think that is an option for us. And again, sometimes it goes back to the mental health capacity, to be able to remove yourself from, an environment, but still be productive. We learned that through COVID. So again, I think that that's something that we can talk about, but I think it's an idea, but how does it look?
That's,
what we
Is
need
gonna
to
be when they
Right.
fill out.
identify in those policies. But
yes.
with regards to the policy, I know at one point we had mentioned as a commission that we wanted to break down and have certain policies brought to us
Yes.
so that we are able to identify and review them
Mhm.
as we move forth, because there were a lot of policies that were outdated, were no longer best practices and things of that nature. So I would definitely love to see that come back before the commission as a whole, which would allow us to identify as a whole and address as a whole. How it's done, we'll leave it up to you, but I know at one point it was kind of coming before us, policy driven, to so that we can kind of dive in and that technically falls up under us as policy making, the policy making body. So
Okay.
And
That's
where
fine.
we at in that process, if I may ask? Yes,
Sure.
because I know at one point we were bringing pieces, we had an HR manual that you were working on.
Yes, and we're still bringing them. So we stopped at the time when we were waiting for a new city manager to come in. We stopped all of the policies. And so the first one that we brought back, I think you just adopted it, the last one, was the benefits. We brought it back 2 times. You guys reviewed everything to make sure we had everything in it. And now as we're going through our department heads meeting, we're looking at these things and saying, making the changes and then bringing them to you all for your input. And then we take them back again and we make all of those changes. And then once we've incorporated everything that you all see that needed to be, then we bring it back to you all for final review
So
before
since
adoption.
February, we brought one policy back.
The benefits policy. I think. Yeah, that's the only one.
Mayor, I got one last thing, and I think this will kind of help gauge for the remainder. We talk about how things are obtainable. Do we want to have the conversation now as to how we wish to track if it's do we want to come up with a metric? Like, is it a yes or no? Is it a yes? Like, what system do we want to utilize to say, if we're looking at organizational management and we're talking about the establishment of strategic plan, is it in progress? What have we accomplished? Did we accomplish something? Yes. If yes, what have we accomplished? If no, what metrics do we want to go by? Because I think this will kind of help us gauge, like if it's something that we need to, for lack of better terminology, dummy down, so that it's attainable, or we need to beef up. So that's why I want to know what kind of metric system,
Matrix.
matrix system that we're gonna use to make sure that we're doing our checks and balances.
So, and are we talking about us as a commissioner? Are we talking about
These,
city
this right
manager
here.
Bell?
Oh, no, so we have to have, like, if we're like, that's whatever matrix we decide, or if we want to allow him to come up with the matrix of it, is something that we are gonna have to be, that we're gonna have to be okay with. Because again, once we come down to our part of evaluation, we want to be able to easily look at these things and say, yep, did this, did not do this, did this, did not. This was in progress, not completely obtained. So that's why I want to make sure that we're on the same page now, and I think that'll help us
I
build that.
agree, and I sent a performance measure tool or a couple of them to Ms. Jones, and she had some as well.
And
that
I
we
did.
talked about.
Yeah, I'm
And we
sorry.
could maybe design those, again, not to reinvent the whole thing. Go ahead, Commissioner McCaskill.
And that's a very valid point that you brought up, Commissioner Campbell. I did ask for guidance on that as well. I think it would be good and it should be something that you can develop or decide on to make it more friendly and easier to attain. So with that being said, should we continue to move forward and listen until we get a matrix?
No,
That's
I
all.
believe that we still can have the conversation, and based on the conversation that we've had, he deemed the matrix that is appropriate. I just know I don't want a yes or no matrix.
Yeah,
Okay.
there are a lot of
Okay.
tools out there.
Yeah, we can develop that and bring it back.
I'm fine with that.
And you don't want it to be yes or no, so we can develop
I
a
wanna be,
qualitative.
we need to be able to, if it's yes, identifying what it
So-
was with the yes,
Mhm.
if the yes, so maybe. And I have one that we use with the school district,
Mhm.
that it allows us, it's done with our strategic plan, that when we review, you use it. If we obtain something, we cross it out, and we say we obtained it, da, 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 da. If it's partial of something that we obtain, it goes into a category, and we say, what was it that we obtained? And if, so it goes on to allow us to know, crossing out what we did, so that we can get to the meat of what we didn't do, so we can focus on that our next time around, so that that full box can be checked off.
Okay.
So with that being said, should we wait until he gets the
Or do you want to move forward?
I mean,
I mean, I don't,
I don't
Wait,
see the
part of- I just hope
sufficeness
that
of
we keep
moving forward if we don't
waiting.
have the matrix, because I think you're bringing up a very valid point, and to make the process, not dummy it down, but make the process much smoother.
I would think, let's have the conversation, this is just my opinion, I'm just one of five. Let's go through there, so there's an expectation of what it
We
is
want
that
him
we
to.
want to focus on.
Mhm.
And as far as with the matrix, allowing
Right.
him, based on the conversation, create the matrix that ties all in the conversation from today and the way that we're able to obtain it and moving forward. So I think the conversation allows us to say, okay, we want this to be a part of it. We don't want this to be a part of it. Okay, how about we add this? How about we take away that? I think that's what this conversation is, so that we'll have an idea. But as far as the matrix, I think that's something that will be able to come after we have the conversation. I don't think that should be something that holds us back from moving forward with. I mean, we only have 3 more to talk about, and it's not as long as the organizational management.
Right.
And then that gives them something to feed on versus us postponing, which we've done a lot lately for good cause. So I don't want it to appear, but again, we just want to make sure that, I don't think this is hard enough for us to go through, have dialogue, and give him something of substance to move forward with.
In looking at the organizational management goal, I don't see any reference to improving staff relations, succession plans, anything of that nature, like
And
working.
that's what I wanted to bring up, but I didn't know if I wanted to bring that into professional development,
It could be,
professionalism, because again, I would love to see professional development built into the culture
me too.
of the city, and not just fly by night. I want to see, so I didn't know if it could simultaneously be under organizational management and professionalism. So that's why I withdrew my statement before and was gonna bring it up under professionalism.
And I agree with creating that culture, and that should be under professionalism. I thought under organizational, it was creating an environment
That's fine.
that was, that they were almost two different little
It
things,
is.
even though they're interconnected.
Okay, so under organizational management, do we want to add an item
What
that
Mayor-
says professional development?
No, what Mayor just said, it was.
Creating an environment that fosters positive interactions between employees and supervisors, or something to that effect. I just threw that out. And then under professionalism, it was more of,
Professionalism was, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
more of what Commissioner Campbell was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Under professionalism,
Under professionalism is, what did I just say?
professional development.
Professional development,
Mhm. Okay.
For all employees,
Mhm.
all employees.
all. And so that include opportunities for additional education, experiences, mentoring, there's all sorts of things you can put into that.
Sure.
Yeah, like teamwork, like we definitely, team building.
Teamwork, will, which is basically collaborating effectively with internal, to achieve a common goal with that will benefit to our city.
Okay. All right, do you want to go back up to commission relations?
Well, I would like to see you add, I like to just see something up there as it relates to how we engage with the community as they come into our various establishments, irregardless of the department, and how we treat our constituents, our people who come in
Mhm.
for service from the city, that they are met with friendly and responsive service.
Could that fall under
I mean, the goal of
professionalism?
that commission, that although people get tired of doing them, is some kind of feedback about their experience in the city, that if somebody's willing to fill out a very brief survey, customer satisfaction
Customer
survey.
satisfaction.
QR code.
It'd be a way to measure progress. That would be a data point.
I think having a QR code accessible when folks come in that they can access and do
Whatever
it.
is it.
Yeah, exactly.
With a brief
Yes.
So QR code for customer sat?
customer
So-
satisfaction.
Yes. And also,
Satisfaction.
and
Okay.
also, have it on the website, because not if everybody might not have the technology to do the QR codes, or what have you, then
Right.
We have hard copies there too.
Mhm.
have another method and alternative to be able to help address those.
And as a rule, this is an aside, everything that we are now doing that has an electronic, we also have a manual process that we're building in for it.
Business continuity.
Yes.
So are we
There you
all,
go.
have we completed organizational management, that category, or on to commission relations? Okay, go ahead.
I think organizational management, I want to make sure that we're getting the best use out of our facilities where our people are housed at. If we can see, because personally, I feel that Sunny should have an office of sort, simply because of the sensitive stuff that she's dealing with.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that we vet not the city hall annex over at the community center, that we're making sure that we take in consideration the services that the individuals have
Mhm.
who work for us, and that they have the adequate space to get it done.
Employee
I
confidentiality.
certainly agree with Commissioner Campbell, because I also thought the same thing with not only Sunny, but you gotta look at your entire city as it relates to people and how they are able to
Access.
conduct their business in a way to where the interruptions or availability and everything else, so that, and then like Commissioner Campbell said, sensitive information may be on the desk or.
Right.
So we need to make sure that we do an assessment throughout the city and make sure that we get the people who are doing those jobs in a place where they can do it efficiently and effectively.
I like that. One of the things I wanna, if we can look into the type of door that HR has, I think that's a very good, like a hardening of of the organization. So if we can look into something like that, that would be great.
Okay.
Anything further under organizational management? We lost Commissioner Jones. Commission relations? Is there anything additional that we'd like to add to this?
I guess I need to get an understanding of establishing, like I need to get an understanding of that. Like, what is your thoughts when it comes down to the collaborative, the work relationship? What are your, is that something that you can measure?
That's a good question. So I just collected the feedback that I got. Established collaborative working relationship was one of the items, but how you measure that is something that's at the discretion of the commission. So you could identify specific actions like notice, yes or no, was notice provided? Is the response timely? What is that? What is your definition of timeliness? Is it 1 hour or is it by close of business? Those kinds of things.
Depends on the nature of it. I can tell you recently, the collaboration, that you've been pushing out email
Mhm.
information and the response time has been phenomenal. So I can tell you just most recently that has been great. But I think the turnaround time depends on the nature of it,
Mhm.
what it entails, what it involves. So we have to consider that.
Okay.
I think even just getting back to whomever it is within less than whatever timeline that is, and just saying, I don't have the answer yet, but I'll work on it. But
Right.
just
Yes.
responding and not just
Immediate
letting it,
response.
yeah, go for days on end.
Field commission requests. Is that field or is that supposed to be field?
I think field, like out in the field, commission, the request that we. Can you
Right.
explain that? Can you kind of elaborate?
Well, the
on that?
thought was, and this is the way I interpreted, was FIELD, fielding it like out in the field when you have issues, if you're out and about in the community, you see something that
Mhm.
needs to be addressed, like Hank Bryan Park needs to be cleaned up. You know, that's a request that I would field in my office as your employee and make sure that I allocate the resources to get it accomplished. I think that's what it was referring to.
Any other questions or additions?
I just have a question. Is it kind of like what we kind of dealt with most recent where I brought a couple of issues to you? You
Mhm.
immediately went to the department head.
Correct.
Okay.
And just one more question with the
Sure.
last one. Is it
Mhm.
provide, I know that we get your calendar, it says manager, so it's just your calendar, correct?
Right, my weekly calendar, as well as the weekly updates that we've begun providing.
Anything else?
Hold
You're
on.
very quiet, Commissioner.
I
probably should
communicate
touch base.
organizational activity and keep commission updated. Well, again, that's what you've been doing recently. If you can keep that going, that would be great.
Yeah,
to
because that was
receive us.
always helpful, and I
Yes.
certainly missed it when it was absent for a period of time.
Yes,
Because Mr.
but
Griffith used to do it, and then it was great to have it back.
So,
Well, no, I mean, I think Mr. Bell is doing a good job in terms of committing that because we've had a number of people who've served in that role. We've had to ask for things repeatedly. So again, I think he's been doing a really good job with providing that information. So just keep that going.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else on the commission relations that we want to focus on? Professionalism.
I'm definitely adding to that, the professional development
Mhm.
for all employees.
Yep, added that.
to definitely include team building.
And team building, I
And
have
I
that.
would like to see that as an ongoing
Mhm.
activity as a part of that professional development.
And also making sure that we as a commission are, we have our, I think it's sometimes it's good for us to have refreshers too. So if we can build that into professionalism, making sure that we stay on top of that, if there's something, again, I'm just,
Mhm.
building in that team building.
Elaborate on minimize, reporting errors and what that's going to look like in measurable, please, if you don't mind.
So we previously had a document that was worked on for a period of time prior to me getting here that came to the commission that had some errors in it. And so,
That did not come to the commission.
That was a draft. though.
yes, it was a draft.
So that everybody needs to edit. I mean, you can't really self-edit. Most people need somebody
Okay.
else to look your eyes. Yeah.
And
We're talking about a different draft.
it was during the executive session, I think.
Okay.
It was where it should, Commissioner Jones pointed out some,
Right.
Yes.
pointed out some stuff.
Okay.
But anyway.
I think those errors are very important. I mean,
I think they are
Speaking
a
of-
professional product in the end. If it's a draft, I can accept it, and then I think we all make corrections. The final product though needs to be professional.
That's
Right.
one part of it, but we gotta talk about errors that we make,
Yes.
not solely with
Okay.
draft documents. I'm talking about when we have people, not to bring it up, but the whole Mr. Clark situation where there's scrivener's errors that literally change the
Yes.
total,
Mhm.
where we caught our, like, we need to work on things of that nature. If it's our mess up, we gotta own it.
We do,
And-
and we've got to be careful
Yeah.
what we say. We need to have that information, have it be accurate before we say something.
Yeah, we got to, that's
Okay.
something that's at the forefront of professionalism. Like, we can't allow stuff like that to happen, and we just, yeah.
And job competence. I mean, in terms of people who are in these roles. I mean, we the number of errors that we've been having, we should not be having those.
And that
So-
applies to all of us. And professional development, as Commissioner Campbell said, applies to all of us. So we all could use refreshers on Robert's Rule, on Sunshine, and a variety of other things. Anything else on the professionalism?
I think when it comes down to the staff presentations, I see most organizations go to a formatted look. I want us to come with a more unified look. So I don't know if that's something that we need to go into and everyone use the same type of. I know we have it at the beginning of, I know when we're going through the budget, how that first page of going into the slideshows for the respective,
Mhm.
that's uniform, but I want the entire presentation to be more uniform because we have, and again, there are some people that may not be as tech savvy,
Right.
but if there is a something that we can go by organization wise,
Mhm.
I think that would help eliminate the appearance because presentation should always be your best work. Not saying that we have not gotten best work, but again, that more unified look
Mhm.
from across the board.
Right, Commissioner Campbell is absolutely correct, you know, it should have come with like the theme and, but I think based of, you know, whatever the theme and the uniformity, I think that'll be something that we should, when I think the PIO, I don't know what his skill set is, but generally that kind of thing would come from PIO, you know, PIO who could maybe potentially help with stuff like that, or somebody on staff who knows how to put together presentations or know the office suite or whatever you normally
Okay.
use to even produce presentation material.
Just so I understand clearly, I was told that the staff report was an effort to go in that direction, but you're talking about above and beyond the staff report being structured, the actual presentations that staff do. Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
It needs some uniformity
okay,
and consistency.
okay.
Anything else under professionalism?
Professionalism as it relates to when people utilize our facilities,
Mhm.
you know, regardless, I think that we can do a lot better as it relates to that when it represents us as a city, when we have a event, a function, or whatever else it may be, that I think things can be done a lot better. Examples are if you go to the Price Martin, or if you went to another facility, sometimes the things, you know, I think those things are getting addressed where you got the cable running across the floor. The sound system is not representative, it's very embarrassing, and a number of other things. But again, I think we need to represent the city well, not just good. We need to do it, we need to scale it up a little bit better.
And to piggyback off of that, the aesthetics of our buildings should be, especially if we're asking our community to spruce up their area. I think the aesthetics of our outside could be uplifted a little bit. Not only here, but to some of our other places. And I think that's part of the professionalism, because everyone wants to come into a place. If you feel welcome on the outside, the inside should be a reflection as well. So taking into the aesthetics overall as well. I think that's something that we need to work on. But another thing with regards to professionalism, going and how we should conduct ourselves in meetings. And the expectations of all that. Because again, meetings, we see walking, we see a lot of just randomness that's going on in our meetings. And I don't know if other commissioners have been getting some feedback from citizens, but I get a lot of phone calls with regards to some of the professionalism that's being displayed from across the board in our meetings. So again, we want to make sure that we conduct ourselves as professionals in our meetings.
Anybody else have any input on professionalism?
Okay.
Okay, community engagement. Additions to that.
I
It was
think we
already
should,
mentioned something like a citizen.
Academy.
Yeah, so that was already added. Is there anything additional beyond that?
So that's
What is-
basically the same thing as soliciting feedback from the community.
Yeah, I was gonna ask bullet number 2, provide input and feedback from typically unheard voices. How would you capture that feedback? Like, what are the unheard voices?
So, one of the key challenges that we have in city management is we only deal with people that come into City Hall. And so those are the voices that we hear on a routine basis. And occasionally we get unique or different people that come in. So the effort around that would be, how do you reach other areas of the community that don't typically come to that podium and don't come to the meetings, and get them engaged, whether they have the time to come to the meeting or not, but they're engaged in other ways. And Thrill Share is one of the ways that we can, I mean, if we
So
pursue
I
something.
would change provide to solicit.
Okay,
Because from what you had just explained, like you're going out being actively trying to get that information one way or another. So I think it would be solicit input and feedback from the typically unheard versus provide, because again, you can't provide until you to go out and solicit.
Right.
So I would just change that word to from provide to solicit.
Well, once you solicit it, you want to provide the
Well, you can say
feedback. So,
solicit and provide.
yes, that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. And that thrill share can be that two-way communication piece
Right.
and, you know.
And two, I think, as it relates to city, we don't have a lot of community engagement being there for the community as a city on a regular basis. And I think that would be a major help, other than coming to a town hall or anything else like that. But I think if the city staff or department heads or whoever, or have somebody designated to do some of the things like Commissioner Campbell mentioned the other day, to where, you know, you can have people to come out and maybe do how you work, do a permit, what the permit process look like, but just have different times of the month that the city is available to those individuals, whether it's twice a month or once a month or whatever. But we gotta start doing some of those things to be able to help continue to educate the community outside of putting things on the website maybe going to the radio station or putting things in the newspaper or whatever. So just that being available to the community,
Maybe something like mini workshops or something.
all of it. Yes,
Yeah,
just with
like
the mini
mini
workshop
workshops.
showing them how to,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
how to, with the processing in hand.
Commissioner Campbell.
I would like to see us have a better relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, and so that we're able to compare calendars. I know one of the things that I hear from citizens is, say for instance, there's like no master calendar. So I would love for us to be at the forefront of trying to make that happen, because there are a lot of things, meetings that take place that people look at the chambers overall calendar and hold that to be true throughout the city. And I think if we can do a better job at integrating schedule or integrating calendars of however, if it's weekly, monthly, some way, so that our city is reflected on some of the things that we are reflected via their calendar, which would possibly bring community engagement feedback up in some instances.
And of course, other communities, I'm sure, have done this successfully, so it may be worth seeing what some other communities have done
Mhm.
to offer that kind of information.
Okay.
Anything else on?
Also, when
Oh,
it
go ahead.
comes down to community engagement, I don't want it to just look from the standpoint of City Hall and you. I would love for us to do an assessment of all of our departments to see what our departments can do to be a little bit more visible in the community. I don't want to call out any departments' names, but we have some that are better than others. But I believe that each department have an opportunity to engage in the city, and it's community engagement, a little bit more. So maybe just providing assessment to see what it is that they are doing, or the possibilities of what departments can be doing to have a greater impact when it comes down to community engagements, because there may be some individuals that they see working in their neighborhood that they can say, hey, we're gonna spend another 15, 20 minutes walking down, seeing if anyone have questions or concern. Just stuff like that, I think would be just an additional step to providing that community engagements from the entire organization and not just specific to City Hall.
And I think that's where you can have them champion, they can champion the workshops, the mini workshops in the community. You can get your department heads who are savvy in that, and is that something y'all are doing? Yep.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
don't,
good.
I don't want to tip my hat.
Okay, but yeah, I think that'd be great where you can actually use folks in the organization to conduct those workshops in different areas.
Mhm.
Let them champion that, give them that charge to do.
And I think if you address any employee in the organization, they should be able to tell you what that
Absolutely.
focus is and what we're trying to do.
I think when we went up in Kansas and the bus rides that we had.
Yeah.
Those were powerful,
Absolutely. I
so.
mean, and that's something that you,
that-
that would be
Very,
helpful.
mhm.
The, tell them.
We actually, when we went out to Kansas and we were able to, Sonny kind of spearheaded that process and assigned us with some, some workshops, some tours of the city. So they got department heads, those that were savvy, and they got on the bus and they took us to different areas in the city and they educated us on different things.
Mhm.
It was amazing. We went to different spots. When we got there, they had like just different projects that were going on in the city. They had the GMs there to tell us about what was going on. And department heads got on the bus that were experienced for every area we went in. And I think that was just a great experience for us.
To the water plant, there's different areas of the city and how they run their projects, whether it's the water plant, how they get the things in, just the whole process, and they just
Projects they had going.
right. And so I think if we had something developed like that in the city, even just, just they didn't take us to the police department or fire department, but I think all of those departments need to be incorporated to kind of help continue to engage the city. And some of the departments are already doing things like that. I think but collectively, I think if we just expand upon what's already happening, I think it'll be a lot.
I
better
did
way
it the
to-
other day, and I'm gonna toot the horn of
Whoa.
Sunny,
Oh.
because Sunny, she does that with our youth ambassadors, where she invites the department heads to fairly explain what it is that their departments do. And we've had some great discussions, even from our youth council, that I believe if we had that open, or that was something that was friendly to the city, the academy, that it will open up the city just that more to communications and dialogue, that again, those youth asked and answered some questions with regards to their specific whatever department it was. And so we took literally a field trip once a month to a different part of the city, and they explained. So
And I
Maybe we
attended the
could have
one
an
for,
open house at various facilities if their liability was, that's like, so water
Well,
treatment or whatever.
we had to
People don't know how
sign
that works.
legal
Right.
stepped in, and we had to sign waivers.
That's fine.
We
yeah.
did all of that.
Right.
so with that being said, the one that I attended at the water, the gas authority, is that something that all of us can attend? Is that something, because I was invited, it
It's
was
properly
very
noticed.
fruitful.
Right.
So if we notice it, I think that'll be great.
Or we
'Cause-
can attend individually if it's not. as long as we
And
know.
inviting, if Sunny can invite us, however we decide to do it, because I was invited and it was fruitful. I liked that.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
if we can get.
I think
no-
that's true of every department. I think there's a lot of, people just don't know.
But us just getting invited so that
Okay.
we can.
So open
But
house.
sometimes we just have to be creative in our
Yeah.
method. And sometimes a lot of, when it comes down to our departments, they're small, so they operate just amongst themselves, amongst their
Yeah.
friendly. But I believe that our departments, each department has a great responsibility to the function of our city. And I believe that each department should be highlighted. And I know at one point we talked about the possibilities, this was a couple of city managers ago. We talked about the idea of trying to identify our departments and each month highlighting to where they come into a commission meeting, they are visible to our community, they're visible to us, and then highlighting them just for that month, to just give them thanks for what it is that their contribution to the city. So I think that's something that if we can kind of bring back, putting a face with the name, saying, hey, this is your public works department, this is your water treatment department, this is your police department. So I think putting faces with names and things of that nature allows people in the community to say, okay, hey, you know what, I did see you, I saw you in the newspaper, I saw you on Facebook, I saw you here, I saw you there. So that's another opportunity for community engagement as well.
Yes, Sonny, if I may, can you share what you shared about spotlighting employees? I think another one of your colleagues does it in Tampa. Is that it?
In
Is
St.
it-
Augustine.
St. Augustine, okay, I'm
They
sorry.
do a Facebook blast regarding, it's kind of like our In the Spotlight, but it's more of like an interview with the person. They share the picture of the person. They
Mhm.
share what they like about their place of work. They also share a little bit of details about the person, maybe what their favorite activity is to do, what their hobby is outside of work. I've always said I'd love to see something like that here at Palatka because it shows your staff's love for the city.
And I
So
think that's one of the things that Peter's attempting to pull together with the Public
Okay.
Information Office, right?
Because I think it does, it helps to personalize.
Yes.
All of these departments that without those folks working there, the city would not continue to function. So I think it is to showcase all of them. They deserve
Right.
that. And the
Okay.
community needs to know. Any additional to community engagement?
Oh, I have an overall statement as we wrap up.
Okay, go to it.
Thank you all for this conversation. I think this has been very fruitful for us that sit on the dais and for our community members that sit in, as well as giving direction to our city manager. So definitely thank you all for that. And as we forgot what I wanted to say because I said it. But thank you overall for this opportunity to sit here and kind of put that true direction to where we would like to see our city manager help. Oh, this is what it was. I would like Mr. Bell, for you to take this list and break it down in
Yes.
3, 6, 9, 12, what you can obtain in 3 months, what we can obtain in 6, And it doesn't have to be concrete, but I think it gives us something to kind of stick to, because we often say, you hear me say, we talk about things when they're hot, but when they're no longer hot, it kind of gets on the back burner until it's an issue again. So I would love to see this document be something, or this timeline, so that we say, okay, we're at that 3 month mark. What have we accomplished on that list with it that we stated could be accomplished? Because some of these things I think can be accomplished in a matter of a week or two, to be quite truthful. But I would love for this document for you to bring it broken down to in that time frame, and also make sure that when you bring us back the matrix system as well.
That's where I was kind of going, breaking it down, Mr. Bell. Some of these things you may have already accomplished.
Right.
The mini workshops, for example, things like that, maybe a calendar
Mm-hmm.
to show that you scheduled it, what it's gonna look like would be something that's good if you bring that back.
Okay,
Because I know that's something that you haven't implemented yet, but at least developing a calendar, some department heads and just letting us know, giving us an idea of what it looks like, a concept, a
okay,
concept.
Do you wanna-
understood.
Commissioner Borum?
Yes, again, I share the same sentiment as Commissioner Campbell as it related to being here today with the community and staff and giving us this opportunity, and also to help engage with our city manager to give him direction that we have not given any other city manager before, but we are here to help make the city run properly. We want to make sure that whatever we do, we help him be successful at what we will put before him, and what he's gonna work with us on to agree to bring forth to the city. The other piece, I think, that we're giving him this, but I think we should also provide priorities, what we think is a priority, so that he'll know how to put the 30, 60, 90-day thing together. I think that will help in that regard
Thank you.
from a priority standpoint.
Anything else?
When you establish these, did you work with your department heads in this process?
Everything that I do is collaborative.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Right. I would put in one request when you get a chance.
Go ahead.
Please take a look when you have an opportunity at the proposed mission, vision, and values, and give me some feedback on that.
Okay.
So we just pulled together collaboratively with our department heads, a conversation about this. And so this is what we came up with, and we would appreciate you taking a look at it and giving us your feedback.
Go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
I got one thing to say, and it's about, it came up in Commissioner Bourne, question and answering yesterday. And it's about quality assurance on our projects that we have. I know all of the commission get calls about the St. John's Avenue project and other projects that we have throughout the city. One of the goals I would like to see is you implement some type of quality assurance. And when we do contracts, that those contracts include penalties for being late, subpar work, and other things of that nature, because that's important. So when the public asks what happens to our taxpayer dollars on these projects, we'll be able to answer them, and answer them with certainty, clearly, and transparency. And if it's our side that, causes delays, we own it. But if it's a contractor, they must own it. And we must stick with what we put out. And so that's a plan that I would like to see on there. And that's something that you could work on. And we really need that, like, priority 1 or 2. Yeah.
Can we, and I think that's probably one of the better takeaways
Yes.
from all the discussion that we had tonight, because that was something that was brought up in that town hall, that we believe that there are a lot of things that could have been corrected or should have been addressed prior to that 1 year or whatever that time frame. But with the mission, vision, and all of that, could we have a time certain that you want us to have that reviewed by? Because again, these are some things that we don't want to be that ship without a sail. And I think that ship, in order to have a sail, needs to have a mission in a true vision. So I would like for us to make sure that we bring that back for a time certain, so that can be something that's a little bit more concrete.
Sure.
And that we can start displaying or putting out to our community.
Ms. Cardy, what's our first budget meeting in August? Budget workshop? 8, okay, do we have one after that?
If you'll give me a
Okay.
second, I can pull it real quick.
I would say if it's August 28th, because it would be great to have that as part of our sale for the budget process.
You want to wait that?
If I may, the budget workshop is the 9th at 3:30, and then I believe the next one is sorry, I moved something. Is the 29th. So the 9th and the 29th.
Would that give sufficient time if we said the 29th of August?
Oh, yeah. I think
Okay.
it's more than sufficient. Hopefully we can get it earlier.
Did they see it, their commission vision?
Please
Yeah.
advise what page
Yeah.
of the packet.
It's on page,
It's in our packet. We have it in our packet.
page
Yeah,
32.
thank you. We have it in our packet.
And just one last thing. Well, just it's the last thing, but I think we need to also make sure that we have a good understanding of where we are in our budget and how each department is performing. We need to do that on a monthly basis
Mhm.
in terms of what our reserves are and how we're tracking with our budget, because we do know a number of projects that we have, a lot of them go over budget. I never seen one yet that came in within budget, and then the quality of work, like Commissioner Jones was saying. So the commission did take a stance with the last project that we was talking about, St. John's Avenue, and we said no. But in the best interest of the community, we circle back around to go ahead and continue that project. But going forward, like Commissioner Jones said, we have to be fiscally responsible and accountable to the people that we serve.
And I will, when closing, say that I've only received positive feedback about St. John's Avenue. So that's really an accomplishment for everybody before you and you, because that's been a long time coming and people have complained a lot, but it's now looking good.
But the quality of work, though, Mayor, the quality of work is not where it need to be. And so we have a year of warranty on that. And so as things start to fall apart, we need to make sure that we are ahead of the game, and we don't let that year lapse before that work get redone or what have you.
They're not finished yet, so I was gonna give it the benefit of doubt until they completed the whole job before I made a call on that.
And one last thing, the CRA, you need to add that north side, we did approve it, the commission did approve it. We had a concept, we did it approved about 2 or 3 years ago.
Tiff,
That the north side tip from 11th Street corridor
yes.
out. So that need to be also a priority as well.
Do we want to do a ribbon cutting for St. John's?
Once
Why
it's
not?
complete,
Why
and
not?
everybody's happy,
Absolutely.
yes,
All right.
absolutely.
But it's important that we keep boots on the ground
Yes.
with that 1-year warranty and staying ahead. So
Right.
please.
If we go, and I promise y'all, we finna go.
That's what
So we're gonna ride it out, Campbell.
This is my third closing at now, but I think I would like to see those things be calendared. And the commission, it be added to the commission's calendar, just so that we are aware.
Right.
And we can help stay on top of so we need to come up with some kind of uniform method of projects. Sonny's very good at putting stuff on my calendar, but utilizing, like, if it's something of that, just say, hey, it's time for us to take in consideration, however it is, but I think it should be calendared, and the commission should be placed on the commissioner's calendar as well.
Okay. We have it on the projects page now, but we can push it to, we can push that to the calendar.
You know, the outlook that you use and share.
Yep. Okay.
Oh,
All right.
great.
All right, if all minds clear, I would like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Tried to do that a half hour ago.
Second.